Hey there guys, and welcome to another video. This is in relation to Satisfactory again, and at first you may be a little confused what's going on here, what I'm doing. So the devs, Coffee Stain Studios for Satisfactory just released another Q&A video today. And I figured it would be good to go over it because, one, I kind of want to help keep you guys informed and up to date on what's going on with the game since you guys seem so interested, and I definitely am since I'm super excited. Pretty much any chance for me to talk about Satisfactory I'm going to take. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch this video together, and I will link the video in the description. I want to make it clear I am not claiming any rights to their video. This is completely theirs, and I'm going to link to their site and their Steam page and their YouTube channel and stuff as I did in my other video about the game. But we're going to watch this where he goes over some questions. This is like the game development manager, I believe. And yeah, so we're just going to go over this, and I'm going to kind of give my thoughts and such in regards to the questions and answers. And I have a few little extra things here in terms of like comparisons to Factorio as well, which we'll go over. So we're going to go ahead and start because a lot of this is quite interesting, and I think it will answer a lot of questions you had. So let's get right into it here.
Will there be mods? So we had actually been planning mod support from the very beginning, and we even have the foundations laid down for it. But what we found was it was adding so much development time to Satisfactory. And what we really thought we needed right now was to get the base game right, get it tight, robust, and running smoothly. So because it was adding so much development time, we kind of stopped working on it, so we don't have support for it right now. We can't really promise that we will have it now or in the future, but it's obviously a really good idea, so we're gonna see what we can do. General plans.
Okay, so yeah, pretty much at this point, there's no mod support coming right out the gate, but it does sound like they were working on it initially. So I would hope that at some point into launch, at some point after it's launched, they will start supporting it. I mean, even Factorio, when it first launched, when it way back in the very first versions, I don't think it really had mod support either. So I think that's something that'll just kind of come with time.
For post-launch. So people have asked questions about like DLCs, loot boxes, microtransactions, post-launch updates, and how long are we going to support the game for? Multiple maps, for example. We will most likely support the game after launch. I think we kind of had planned that. If you look at our past games, we have supported those after launch, like Goat Simulator got a lot of DLCs, even a free DLC. Sanctum 2 even has been out forever, and we have been supporting that. There have been like updates for that game over the past couple of years. So it is really likely that we're going to support Satisfactory post-launch. As for DLCs, that is something we've like heavily considered, but whether or not we'll have it, I can't confirm or deny. Microtransactions will not be in the game, nor will loot boxes. As for multiple maps, I mean, right now we need to focus on the map we have now. Again, it's a handcrafted map, so we don't really know right now. We don't have this like epic plan where we know everything that's going to happen. So yeah, I think good to know. Obviously, there's not going to be any like pay-to-win type stuff. It's not really that type of game, and in regards to DLCs and support after launch, it's kind of either way. Like, I mean, if it launches with enough content, then I think it's not necessary to have like DLCs and such in the future. But we don't know right now how much content it's going to launch with. But that's just good information right there. And this one, when we need to defend our factory, this one's pretty interesting because it's a little different than I thought. So as Oscar, our game director, said in the PC Gamer interview, you will not have to defend your base. And the main justification for this is, again, the map is huge and traversing it can take some time. And you definitely don't want creatures destroying your base, your perfectly optimized base, while you're ages away and you're unable to come back and defend it, basically. So while you're exploring, you're going to be running into hostile creatures, so let's not forget about that. It's kind of dangerous out there. And what about turrets to defend your base? Shh. If you want turrets, play Sanctum 2. Will there be lizard?
So yeah, so it seems like there's going to be combat in such, but it's going to be mostly with like your personal weapons. There's obviously not going to be turrets, and you won't be defending your factory. So this is a bit of a difference to Factorio. People who like the combat aspect of Factorio obviously will be disappointed, but I know there's a lot of people who don't like the combat aspect of Factorio at all, so this should, hopefully come as kind of a pleasant news to you that you won't have to be like constantly fending off enemy waves and stuff. There will be enemies like out in the world in the map, so you have to fight them when you go out there yourself, but they shouldn't be actively trying to kill your factory. This one about plushies is kind of irrelevant, so I'm going to see if I can kind of skip past it here.
Doggo plushies. Idea. In the past, we have actually made, so I think it's likely. I mean, I talked about it with other, whether or not we'll have them, not sure, but if you want them, keep making some noise, and I'll keep telling them that people want it. So we'll see how it goes. How many alpha keys will there be? What are my chances of being selected? When will you be sending them out? How will you choose who gets them? We don't know how many alpha keys will be sent out. We don't know what your chances are of getting an alpha key. We don't know when we're sending out the alpha keys, and we don't know how we're choosing who gets an alpha key. So I hope that answers your questions.
So yeah, pretty much unknown and all unknowns, but I do hope the alpha's at least done this year at the latest. I would hope within the next couple months, or at least released. And again, go to their website and apply for an alpha key if you're interested. Like you said, there's no guarantee you're going to get one. They don't know how many they're going to give out, but it's definitely worth applying anyway to see if you can grab one, because man, I don't want to wait a super long time for this game.
General multiplayer stuff. You can play the game in single player without the need for a server or anything like that. In multiplayer, we officially support 1 to 4 players, but we're probably not going to limit that, at least at first, so you can just like add people and just kind of see what happens. As for privacy settings on the servers, it is currently limited to friends who can any friend can just join your server, or private, where people can join via invitations. We probably won't have public setting at the moment because that can easily be griefed or simoned. As for dedicated servers, it's something that we really want in the game, whether that's going to be for the alpha or later. And it's something that we've kept in mind during development, so hopefully it should be easy to add into the game when we do it, but it hasn't been tested extensively yet. So we can't promise dedicated servers at this stage, but personally, I'm pretty optimistic about it.
So that's this is an important thing with multiplayer. So it does support their, I guess publicly they're saying they technically support 1 to 4 players, but it will be left open for now to however many you want. But like past 4 players, they're pretty much saying that we don't support that. So like if the game crashes or whatever, that's kind of your own fault. I'm sure that, people like me and Will and stuff are going to try to break it and get, like 20 people in there. But 1 to 4 players, for co-op, I think is still pretty cool. I think a lot of fun can be had. In terms of the servers and stuff, the fact they said that they think they're going to be coming, I think is great. And, again, like, I think we kind of forget, even I kind of forget, like, how far Factorio has come. If you remember that, like, it wasn't that long ago that Factorio implemented the ability to have dedicated servers. Now, before that, you could do, like, direct connect, just, like, peer-to-peer, like just you to one other person or whatever. But it wasn't, like, super long ago they implemented the dedicated servers. And then even before that, there wasn't even multiplayer. Like, that's how the Hydra Dilemma started, with Fish Sandwich and Negative Root and myself and such, because there literally was no multiplayer. So, like, I just say this because, people may be skeptical, like, well, this doesn't seem like it's launching with much features and stuff. Well, I mean, you have to consider Factorio didn't really have that much to begin with either. The only difference is Factorio wasn't on Steam at that point, but it was still available via their website and stuff. So, the fact that they say it's going to be coming in the future, I think is really good.
Not procedurally generated. Will there be procedurally generated resource locations? There will be no procedurally generated maps or resources. I have no idea if that's something that's going to change in the future or not. A lot of people have expressed some concerns that if there is no procedural generation, there will be no replayability. But please understand that we have kept replayability in mind during development, and we have some plans for it. But of course, we're still welcome to suggestions, especially suggestions that don't require procedural generation. Will you localize?
So, yeah, I mean, as they kind of showed in the trailer or in the E3 reveal, and as I talked about in my previous video, it's one map, it's handcrafted, it's a fixed size, it's not procedurally generated, nor the resources. And while that is concerning, if they did have replayability in mind during development, I would hope that they would, add in something. I don't know what it would be at this point, but that they've gotten creative and added in some ways to add in replayability with, even though it's a fixed map and such. So I know that's a concern for some people for sure. It's a little concerning for me, but I think it's still definitely going to, at least for me, have some replayability, especially if they have kept that in mind and kind of implemented it in some other ways.
Localize Satisfactory into X language. We definitely plan on localizing Satisfactory. We've localized like all of our other games to many different languages.
So I'm going to kind of skip this one, but pretty much in short, yeah, they plan to localize it, and it's, they're going to do some like crowdsourcing as well to kind of do it. Initial launch, it may not be that sourced, kind of like Factorio wasn't, but they definitely do plan to do that.
We community-driven translations and localization so that reaps the best reward. If your language is not supported, we'll be adding it at some point, but we'll see what happens. Will there be autonomous drivable vehicles? Will there be water vehicles? There are no water vehicles. Again, whether or not that's something that changes in the future, I have no idea. As for autonomous vehicles, they're in there. That's something we've publicly confirmed already, and all autonomous vehicles will be drivable.
So that's awesome. Not only will the vehicles be autonomous, which means more chances for me to get run over by not only trains, but also, cars and dump trucks and who knows what else, they will also all be drivable as well, which I think is super cool.
Is there an end game? Will there be a story? Yes, there will be story and an end game. As for the story, we've actually already revealed 2 characters, Katarina Parks and Steve. And you can find their names and hints of their personality on our website, so check it out.
So that's interesting. I had not actually heard that they had 2 characters, so multiple characters is an interesting concept I hadn't even really considered, because you only have your one dude in Factorio. So I want, each person, like the characters may have a different backstory or like abilities, which may affect like how you can build things, so that itself could add a little bit of replayability. There's all kind of stuff you can do with that, which I think is a really interesting way to go about it.
Will there be Mac, Linux, console, cross-platform support? Yeah, possibly. We've done that with all of our past games, so it's likely, but I can't confirm or deny that. Right now, we just really need to get the game running smoothly, and in order to do that, we're just going to focus on Windows for now. Is that a space elevator at the end of the trailer? Yeah, it is a space elevator, and it actually takes you to that big thingy in the sky. And that thing is actually a food court where they serve burritos, Chinese food, kebabs, pizza, and curry. Is there a...
Man, I'm all over that. I want to get to that thing as fast as I can, man. All that food up there.
Height limit in the game. How will verticality affect the game? There is no height limit, or there kind of is. It's the skybox. And Uzu, our QA tester, has actually hit the skybox before when messing around. But we may enforce that in the future because, it could break the game or cause performance issues. But I don't know, like maybe that's fun. Maybe we should just leave it as it is. What do you think? Maybe tell us what you think in the comments below. As for
so this, personally, I mean, not that they would watch this or this has any impact, but just sharing my thoughts, is I think that they should leave it open, because like with Factorio, one of the things that's really great about it is that the devs pretty much leave things open for you to break if you want to, like if that makes sense, like if you want to build a mega factory and drop your game UPS down to 10, you can do that. They don't cap you. A lot of games do cap you and just be like, you've reached X amount of entity build limit, like you can only build 10,000 entities and stuff like that. I think it's great Factorio doesn't do that, and I think it would be really great if they don't do that. If they, with the skyblocks, like the height limit or building entities in general, if they don't limit that, because that just, I think that's just good, someone... because maybe someone with a better rig can build a bigger factory or a taller factory, or maybe someone just doesn't mind playing with a little laggy and wants to build more. So I really hope that they, kind of just leave that open.
How verticality affects the game, it is actually crucial to Satisfactory. It is our biggest advantage for being in 3D, right? And what it does is it allows players to build bigger factories in a smaller surface area. And so if 35 squared kilometers sounds a little small to you, which some people have said, please take verticality into account. If that's still a problem, we can make the...
Okay, so this is where I want to do a little comparison. So because a lot of people have mentioned this, that he says 35. I think it's actually 30. I'm pretty sure their website says 30 in the Q&A, and it was reconfirmed somewhere else that it's 30 square kilometers or 30. Yeah, so pretty much people are saying, well, this is a tiny area and stuff. You're not going to be able to do much. Well, one, again, take verticality into effect that you can build story layers upon layers of conveyor belts, and they've also confirmed that there will be like buildings or factories that have multiple floors that you can build stuff in. And a lot of people were comparing this to Factorio, where it's a quote unquote endless map and such. But again, you can't build vertically at all in Factorio. So say you had your whole main bus that's like 30 belts. Well, what if you could build 10 belts on top of each other like you can here? You then reduce that size down to 3 belts. Or what if you can build multiple factories on top of each other? If you can build even 2 on top of each other, you've cut your factory size in half. I think that's really important. Then also, the 30 kilometers squared is actually a big area. So I went into the Factorio. So just a little background here. I think in general, it's, I forget where I read this or where I heard it, but a few very experienced Factorio players have the notion that one tile is about 1 meter. So one Factorio tile, which is like the length of one belt, is about a meter in real life, give or take a little bit. So if we consider that, 30 square kilometers is huge. Like that's actually really big. That's 30 million square meters. Okay, so what I did is I went in, I translated out in Factorio and revealed out an area, and I'm going to show you this area. In fact, we're just going to go to Factorio here, and this is approximately, this is very approximate in such, but if one tile is indeed equal to 1 meter, which I'm pretty sure it is, or thereabouts, this is like the area you'd have to work with. This is about what 30 square kilometers would be. And this is not a small area, guys. Like, this is me. These are my assemblers in my factory. So look at how big this is, right? I mean, these are assemblers, right? I mean, we all know how this compares to things in Factorio. Okay, and this is the revealed starting area. This is my vision area. Like, that's a big area. Like, that is actually a huge... Like, here's the thing, right? Is, people are concerned you won't be able to build much factory. Okay, I challenge you, actually fill this area in Factorio with a factory. Like, sure, people may use, like, technically, or quote unquote, use a map bigger than this in Factorio, but it's not filled. Not even close. Like, their factory may only be like this big, and then all the rest of it is just explored area where they're tapping a few resources, right? So this is actually quite a huge area to build in. And then also add in the fact that you can build vertically. I think this area is going to be a lot bigger than people are anticipating. And on top of that, also taking into consideration the perspective, it's first person, or even third person. But either way, it's not a top down, right? In perspective, I think matters a lot. Like, so think about it. If you are in a helicopter, right, in real life, and you're like hovering over a city. It can be a small city, it can be a big city, whatever. If you're hovering over a city, right, and you look down, if you look like at one house, right, you like spot a house, and you look at it, and you're like, you look like, say, half mile away or a mile away, and you see this other house, like, oh, okay, that's not that far. Like, when you're in that top-down view, it's a very different perspective, because then if you were to warp down into, a first person, as we as people see, that's a long way. Like, walking from, house A to house B, that is quite a ways. So I think that's definitely something to take into consideration.
Map 35 by 35 kilometers. I really hope people get that reference.
That's this was a mistake. Something when they announced it at E3, they made the mistake of saying saying it was this big, which would be absolutely insane.
And don't actually expect that. Was the reveal trailer a cinematic, or was it shot in...
Oh, and this is really important because a lot of people had asked in the comments of my other video and were concerned that this was just like a cinematic they created, not actually representative of the actual game in their reveal trailer.
In engine. The trailer was shot completely in engine, and all the first person shots were taken in game, and all the freeform camera shots were also taken in game, but some of the freeform cameras had cinematic cameras with pretty settings, so that definitely makes the game look better. But most freeform camera shots did not use cinematic cameras. We will also be leaving cinematic render quality in the game in case you can run that. So there you go.
So that's
Let's
really
talk
cool.
about Simon.
Okay, so this is just like jokes at the end. So that pretty much is all those questions and answers. I hope this kind of helped you guys get some more information about it, answer some questions you had, maybe clarify some things. I'm still pretty optimistic. I'm not worried about the map size and the fact it's the same map. I was hoping the resources would be procedurally generated a bit, but we'll see. They may add some interesting aspects into that. Maybe the game isn't so much based around resource like transport as it is like inner factory transport and such. So having the resources in the same spots may not be that big of a deal. And yeah, I think that's gonna do it, guys. Again, definitely check out this video if you want to watch the whole thing at once, or check out their YouTube. They have other videos, and I'll link the trailer and their site and the Steam page and stuff in the description as always. And also at the start, what was really interesting is they did actually give a shout out to Factorio. When the devs mentioned Satisfactory in the latest Friday Facts, these guys actually watched it and then gave a shout out and said that this was definitely inspired by Factorio, and that and thanked them and such for mentioning Satisfactory. So I think that's really cool. But that's going to do it. Leave any other thoughts and questions you have down below. It was really, really interesting reading all the things you guys said in my last video on this. So I definitely like to see that again. Anyways, until next time, I look forward to seeing you all, and do take care.